Hi, my name is Mark Ferrantino, and I'm the Chief Strategy Officer for Yext. Today, I'm going to share our annual State of the Industry presentation. Every year, we take a look at search and technology industry, and we pick 3 trends that are going to have the biggest impact. The pandemic has upended every part of our lives, including how we search for information, products, and services. Our world was already heavily digital, and social distancing only accelerated that. The restrictions of COVID-19 forced brands to rethink how they reach people when in-person interaction isn't an option. Although the pandemic has resulted in great loss, we've also seen great innovation and the changes that are here to stay. Here are 3 major trends in search and discovery. The way that we have interacted with technology has changed since the inception of computers. We started with punch cards in the early days of computing. We then moved to keyboards, then to a graphical interface with the invention of the mouse, and then to the touchscreen with the rise of mobile. With each change, the experience of interacting with technology has radically changed. We are now at the start of the next big shift in how we interface with technology. With the rise of natural language processing and AI, computers can finally understand our language. You might say, I've been hearing about talking computers for years. This is in the future. But it turns out you've been living in the future for quite some time. Every time you use a search engine, and now voice search, you are leveraging the latest and greatest in AI and natural language technologies. Search is one of the first areas this technology has been adopted. Google and other search engines are able to understand your question and deliver a direct answer. Years ago, if you typed in pizza into Google, you'd get a bunch of blogs that talk about pizza or even a link to a dictionary website. But over the last 10 years, natural language innovation has been moving at an exponential pace. Now, if you search for best pizza with contactless delivery, you'll get a curated set of results based on the parameters that were in the natural language question. Simply put, you get an answer. And every time you ask a more detailed question and you get back an actual answer, you are resetting your expectations on how you can interact with the digital world. You now have an expectation of what digital experience should be. And this is not just happening in the consumer search world. You are also seeing natural language experiences showing up everywhere. In desktop search, chat, voice search, in apps, on websites, in smart speakers, and even on your TV. This trend will continue as technology gets better and more channels adopt natural language as their preferred interface. This trend has been slowly taking place over the last 10 years, but when the pandemic hit, this trend got supercharged. As the stores closed and transactions that would have taken place in person are now moving online, support lines have been inundated with questions that used to come through other channels. These developments are driving the evolution of the customer journey, which is now a winding online path of questions and answers. Think of the last time you bought something. You went online, you started searching. You found blogs, reviews, and videos, all things that give you more information, but also raise more questions. So you kept going. You went to the brand's website, talked to a chatbot, talked to Alexa, looked at Google, back and forth, researching and reiterating, asking a bunch of different questions until you learned enough to make a decision. This is the customer journey in a world where you can simply ask for what you want. This new world we live in and the new customer journey will radically change the digital marketing stack over the next few years. All of the existing marketing tech is not built for a world where computers can speak our language. Marketing teams will develop knowledge graphs that host the semantic foundation of language about your brand that can be leveraged by all digital marketing channels, from email to content creation to web and more. This technology will create new channels like voice and chat. This trend will cause CMOs to rethink their customer journey and the technology they used to deliver it. The second trend for next year is that digital transformation has accelerated. Almost every business and sector has been on a digital transformation for probably the last 20 years. Digital transformation has been the hot topic at conferences, has been the subject of many articles, and has been on the CEO's top 5 list for a very long time. We have been hearing about the promise of telemedicine, the ease of digital banking, and the virtues of digitizing our schools for many years. These were long, multi-year projects and a slow migration of customer behavior. While the pandemic has created an urgency to digital transformation like no other in history, we have seen incredible transformation over the last few months as everyone got to work changing how they did business during the pandemic. Simply put, the pandemic accelerated by years all the trends that were already happening. These changes came in three forms: new service interfaces, product and service pivots, and unexpected scale. Industries that are service-oriented needed to find ways to take in-person points of contact and make them digital. In April 2020, for example, banks saw a 200% jump in mobile banking registration. Education was another area that was massively transformed. There was a 90% surge in educational app downloads at the beginning of the pandemic. Healthcare too saw an increase in demand. They saw a 154% increase in telehealth visits in March 2020 than in March 2019. And Nike, a brand that historically has been sold through third-party retail channels, reached their direct-to-consumer 2024 e-commerce goal 4 years early. Other companies had to totally change their products to meet the needs of the pandemic. Gap started making masks, General Motors made ventilators, and alcohol companies like Bacardi shifted their production lines to manufacturing hand sanitizer. Other companies that experienced a steep decline in demand for their goods and services began using their infrastructure for other things. Airlines went from transporting passengers to cargo, and restaurants shifted from dining to selling groceries. The third category of change was simply having to provide the same service at scale. Zoom, Slack, Cloudflare, Peloton, and Dunkin' Donuts all had to figure out how to offer their same products and services to an astronomical number of customers. This also meant that they needed the technological infrastructure to provide services at scale that they hadn't before. What we see here is that digital transformation was already happening, and it will continue in the future even after the pandemic. Telehealth isn't going anywhere. Online banking and wealth management aren't going anywhere. Buy online, pick up in store isn't going anywhere. There are enjoyable in-person experiences that will come back, like restaurants, hotels, movie theaters, and all the things that we enjoy with our family and friends. But digital transformation will continue to make it possible for us to take meetings, learn, go to the doctor, all online. The third trend for 2021 is that the future of marketing technology is decoupled. Every few years, technology goes through a cycle of consolidation and creation. It happens for many reasons. It could be a transformational technology shift like the cloud, or players in the market trying to capture market share by buying competitors and adjacent offerings. Today, we are finishing up a period of consolidation. Marketing technology is a bit monolithic. You have many vendors who are the one-stop shop for web, email, CDP, and social. When you are building a website, you typically use one tech provider and a single tool. A single marketing platform that takes care of everything, every layer of the experience. The presentation layer, the UI, the API layer, which connects to the other tools, and the backend layer, which supports the whole structure. We are entering a phase of creation. This time, the change is caused by a radical shift in technology, a rapid expansion in computing power and network speeds. If you look at the first generation of SaaS, they basically took large enterprise application concepts and moved them to the cloud. Companies like Salesforce created Siebel, but in the cloud. In the second generation, B2B SaaS took on consumer software qualities, making it easy to try out with freemium models and friendlier user experiences. But driven by the increase in computing and network speeds, the third generation of SaaS is offering a set of discrete services that can be coupled together to create any application over the internet. These services used to sit next to each other in the same piece of software or even in the same data center, but now are leveraging the internet to communicate and create decoupled applications. In essence, the internet has become the data center. You can mix and match any service with any other service to create virtually anything. Best of breed combined with the agility of the cloud. So no surprise this trend has come to the shores of the marketing tech companies. Large monolithic offerings are starting to fall out of favor, and a decoupled best of breed architecture is on the rise. In this new world, each layer is decoupled from the other. so you have the opportunity to choose the tools that you want for each functionality of the marketing stack. You are not bound by the limited functionality of a single provider. And if conditions change the way you do business, as we saw in 2020, you can easily scale and switch to new tools. The decoupled marketing stack is economical, best in class, and flexible, which means it's built for a future of uncertainty, a future that requires agility. When you have the power to assemble your own marketing stack based on your brand's changing needs, it's insurance against being stuck with clunky software that can't change with you. It is not a surprise that this is a rising trend over the last few years, and the pandemic has really accelerated the adoption. These innovations mean that you can be deliberate about choosing the right tool for the right job. If you're an e-commerce brand, you can go with a powerful payments offering like Stripe. Whereas if you're a healthcare provider, you might invest in an appointment booking software that easily integrates into your web pages. This trend is just getting started, and we expect existing players to try to break up their giant offerings into services as new decoupled players enter the space. We just hope they can all play well together. The trends we talked about today: conversation is digital, digital transformation has accelerated, and the future of marketing technology is decoupled, were all happening before the pandemic, and they will continue after. The pandemic just gave them a big push. Thank you.